we're joined by UNICEF country representative, Peter Hawkins. Peter, glad to have you join us on the program. All right, how much of a boost would you say the receipt of this vaccines, J&J, which I learn is a one-off short, is to the course of fighting COVID in Nigeria?
I think it's a significant one. I mean, not only is it 2 million, which adds to the already 10 million that's in stock, but it's also part of a 19 million Team Europe donation of vaccines, which will come over time. So what we're seeing now is a predictability from the donors of vaccine coming through. COVAX, which is WHO, UNICEF, Gavi and CEPI, are beginning to allow for vaccines to come in a predictable nature. 1 billion vaccines have already been distributed across the world by COVAX, 500 million of which are donations from governments, 300 million, as we just heard, from Team Europe, which is a significant contribution. So now there's a predictability of vaccine, and we can be assured that vaccine will come to Nigeria in the quantities that are required, with the shelf lives that are required, which is
so you believe the rollout is definitely on course. But in that report, you did point out the need for donors to invest in vaccine production in Nigeria, but not just for COVID-19, but other serious issues. I do recall that last year you did say, as far as malaria vaccines are concerned, that Nigeria needs to ramp up its infrastructure. How important is it, for investors to come in?
I think it's critical, and it's about building back stronger and using the opportunity now of really reinforcing the immunization system and structure, but also the whole primary healthcare structure right across Nigeria. 2,350 children under the age of 5 die a day of preventable diseases in Nigeria. 200 pregnant women die a day in Nigeria. Every day. The primary healthcare structure can look at 80% of those and actually start to address some of those problems. So COVID-19 is, what is happening? We're nearly at 200,000 a day being vaccinated, 200,000 people a day being vaccinated against COVID, which is fantastic. We need to ramp that up to 500,000. Now's the opportunity to do that, as vaccines are now available to take that. But then coupled with that is investing in the whole immunization infrastructure to address things like vaccine-derived polio, malaria, measles, pneumococcal for pneumonia, and so on and so forth, to allow for Nigeria to, over the next 3 years, really step up and be able to deliver the services for its people, to bring maternal mortality, down to the levels that it should be.
That's interesting. Good news. You've harped on it a little bit when you talked about shelf life, but I'm still concerned, as I'm sure many Nigerians will be. How do we guard against what happened earlier when some vaccines were destroyed because they expired? I'm sure you heard about that. And what plan should the government adopt to achieve the goal they have of making sure that the number they quoted is vaccinated within this 2022?
70%.
70%, yeah.
The National Primary Healthcare Agency has done really well in moving vaccine around so they do not expire. So the utilization is what we call data-driven decision making. It's fantastic to watch. And we're with them all the way, and we move vaccine from state A to state B if they're not utilizing them, if they're beginning to run out or what have you. So what happened in November, which was very short shelf life vaccines, will not happen again. I mean, there were 2.4 million Pfizer vaccines which were about to expire in January. All of them have been used effectively and in the arms of people, and that's the key. Nigeria is very used to managing vaccines. We know the history of polio, we know the history of measles, we know the history of routine immunization well, and it's significantly improved. So there is the infrastructure to do it, there is the management to do it. What we need to do now is really enforce everything at state level. The accountability to deliver, which is key. The financing so that they can streamline the vaccines and use of vaccines, and the infrastructure like the cold chain. We've tripled the size of the cold chain in the past year, just under 1 year. It needs to be reinforced and continue to be done, and use that to really boost primary healthcare in the country.
And there's the issue of the hard-to-reach areas, like the riverine, desert areas. How is the UNICEF, stepping in to surmount that challenge?
Well, I think that's the key challenge. As I said, we want to move from 200,000 to 500,000, but it's the quality of that increase which is important, getting it out to the rural areas. And this is where EU's donation of Johnson & Johnson makes a significant impact. Johnson & Johnson is one shot, so when you get into the riverine areas or right out in the middle of nowhere, you can do that. The government of Nigeria have bought 37 million vaccines of Johnson & Johnson. So the capacity now and the amount is there to be able to really extend the vaccination program into the areas, into the hard-hit areas, because as the EU ambassador said, no one is safe until everybody is safe.
Good. What's the criteria for donating these vaccines to countries like Nigeria, by the EU, and of course other African countries? And is there any program or plan by the EU to monitor countries like, again, Nigeria, that these vaccines, should get to the places that you want them to get to?
I think we all do. We work very closely together, the government and the development agencies, and by default the international donor governments and agencies work very closely together to make sure, one, it's effective, two, it reaches the unreachable, if you get what I mean, but also that the effectiveness of the whole system is optimized so that Nigeria can move forward. And I think, we, for example, have 7 or 8 people inside the MPHCDA here in Abuja, and 1 person in each of the states looking after the cold chain system. So we know the plumbing of it and how it works and where it works. And if it goes wrong within an hour or 2 hours, we know about it and start to adjust with SPHCDAs and the MPHCDA so that things work well. I think the whole system is built on trust, it's built on service delivery, and Nigeria is good at service delivery.
Well, I wonder what you're finding so far, anyway, in terms of that service delivery. And then there is the issue of biosafety and biosecurity. Yes. While we're dealing with all of this, what's your take, and what's your advice? What would you say needs to be done to strengthen the biosafety policy?
Well, the policy is there. It's quite strict, and bundling is quite well done, and the whole disposal of items is very carefully monitored and very carefully done. Nigeria has, and I remember 15 years ago introducing some of it, has a very good, well-established mechanism to be able to do that. So everything is done environmentally and safely, and it's there is a good system in place to ensure that.
All right, I thought I should just ask this. J&J, I know, is one of. You have AstraZeneca, which is not one of, and the other was. How do you manage them? How do you manage to take these vaccines? In other words, can you mix? Do
mixing and matching.
Yeah, can you mix, or just explain that?
Is it safe to do
just
that?
Very briefly here.
The key is, if for your first dose or your first 2 doses, is you stick to the one you took. So you took AstraZeneca, I took the same. My first 2 doses were AstraZeneca. All 3 of us, great. Then when you take your booster, you can change to an mRNA, which is Pfizer or Moderna, and you can do that, or you can remain with AstraZeneca. That's your choice. Okay. But for the booster, you can move. Now, the important thing to your listeners is get vaccinated. Yeah. Please, it's no one is safe until we're all safe. And please vaccinate. The 3 of us are healthy, young. I've had COVID since I've been vaccinated. It saved my life. There's no question. I got through it easily. If I wasn't vaccinated, I might not have been here.
Thank
all right,
God.
Peter
Thank
Hawkins.
God for that.
Thank you so much, UNICEF country representative here in Nigeria.
Yep.
Always a delight having you join us.